Good day, students. The soul has no secret that the behavior does not reveal. These are the great words of a Chinese philosopher, Lao Tzu. Now, you may be wondering why I am saying a quote to you. Because today we are going to deal with a story written by an American novelist, Louisa May Alcott, and the name of the story is Secret. When many people hear the word secret, they may have a grin or a worried expression on their face, because a secret is the hiding of truth. It can be interpreted in a positive or a negative way. Now let's focus at the positive aspect of it. For example, sometimes we hide things to give a big surprise to our dear ones, like a surprise gift for your parents or friends on their birthday, or a surprise visit to your relative's place. And in order to hide that surprise, you constantly make sure that you don't get caught and spoil a surprise, right? So your behavior would be in a strange manner, like trying to be discreet, which means being very careful in what you say or do to keep some secret so as not to spoil a surprise. Now, let's see what's a secret in our lesson Secrets. Before we start, we shall have a look at the details of our writer, Louisa May Alcott. Louisa May Alcott was an American novelist, short story writer, and a poetess. She was best known as the author of the novel Little Women and its sequels Little Men and Joe's Boys. Little Women is loosely based on Alcott's childhood experiences with her three sisters, Meg, Beth, and Amy. Joe is a headstrong tomboy who is the emotional center of the story. Louisa May Alcott has a distinctive writing style that includes complex but understandable sentences and focuses on familiar relationships that all readers can relate to. So the lesson Secrets is an extract which is taken from the novel Little Women. Now let's see what the secret is. Secrets by Louisa May Alcott. Josephine March, or Jo, lives with her mother, Mrs. March, and three sisters, Meg, Beth, and Amy. In this extract from the novel Little Women, we get to know of Jo's secret. Jo was very busy in her room. The October days had begun to grow chilly and the afternoons were short. For 2 or 3 hours, the sunlight lay warmly in the high window, enabling Jo, seated on the old sofa, to write with her papers spread out upon a trunk before her. Quite absorbed in her work, Jo scribbled away till the last page was filled, signed her name with a flourish, and threw down her pen, exclaiming, "There, I've done my best. If this won't suit, I shall have to wait till I can do better." The story starts with the description of the setting. Jo was very busy in her room. The October days had begun to grow chilly, means it was the beginning of the cold season in which afternoons were short. Though they were sunlight, it was a comfortable heat. And Jo was very busy seated on a sofa, writing on the papers which were spread upon a trunk. Trunk is the thick central woody stem of a tree which was used instead of a table. She was too much occupied in her work and looked very serious. And Jo kept on writing till the last page was filled. In the closure, she signed her name in a decorative style and threw down her paper. She exclaimed to herself that she had done her best. If this also doesn't work, she would have to wait till she can do the better version of this. We can feel how optimistic Jo is through these words. She says that she would have to wait till the time she could do the better version of it. Lying back on the sofa, Jo read through the manuscript carefully, making dashes here and there and putting in many exclamation points. Then she tied it up with a smart red ribbon and sat a minute looking at it with a wistful expression which plainly showed how earnest her work had been. Now, after writing something, we all proofread the matter which we have written, right? Whether it is a story or any article, we all proofread whatever we have written and we do some corrections also. We put exclamations or punctuations wherever necessary. So likewise, Jo also read the manuscript carefully and she also put many exclamation points. After that, she tied it up with a smart red ribbon. Finally, she had a last look at the manuscript that she had done with a wistful expression. Wistful expression means as if she had done something differently with great satisfaction, which plainly showed that how earnest her work had been, which clearly shows how sincere and serious-minded she was in her work. Earnest means sincere or serious-minded. From her desk, Jo produced another manuscript and putting both in her pocket, crept quietly downstairs. Now, along with that, she also took another manuscript from her desk and she put those two manuscripts in her pocket and crept quietly downstairs. Crept means to move slowly without letting anyone knowing about it. If anyone had been watching Jo, they would have thought her movements decidedly peculiar, for on alighting, she went off at a great pace till she reached a building on a certain busy street. Now, if anyone had noticed her moving very quietly through the downstairs, people must have understood that it is decidedly she is being strange in her movements. Peculiar means strange or unusual in her movements. For on alighting, alighting means while she was getting down. So she went very fast. She went off at a great pace, which means she stepped so fast. And finally, she reached a building on a busy street. Having found the place with some difficulty, she went into the doorway, looked up the dirty stairs, and after standing still for a minute, suddenly dived into the street and walked away as rapidly as she had come. This maneuver she repeated several times to the great amusement of a black-eyed young gentleman standing by the window of a building across the street. On returning for the third time, Jo gave herself a shake, pulled her hat over her eyes, and walked up the stairs, looking as if she were going to have all her teeth out. She felt a bit discomfortable when she reached near the building. So she went into a doorway. A doorway means she went through a door of that building and she had a look at the stairs which looked very dirty. And she stood there for a minute looking very confused. Suddenly dived into the street. Suddenly she moved quickly into the street and walked away as rapidly as she had come and walked in the same manner how she reached the place. She was very fast in walking, right? She walked at great pace. So in the same way she returned. This maneuver means this series of movement, like she just kept coming and going many times. This maneuver she repeated several times to the great amusement of a black-eyed young gentleman standing by the window of a building across the street. Now, her repeated movements, this maneuver, this series of movement were being actually watched by a young gentleman, a black-eyed young gentleman who was standing by the window of a building across the street. On the third time while she was coming, when she saw this young man, she gave herself a shake as if she is all right. Now, we have seen in movies and all, when people try to pretend like they are okay, they'll give a shake, right? So just like that, she gave herself a shake and pulled her hat over her eyes as if she is trying to hide herself from that man. and walked up the stairs looking as if she was going to have all her teeth out. That means as if she was going to the dentist to take all her teeth out. Why this is said is there was also a dentist office in that building. In 10 minutes, Joe came running downstairs with a very red face and the general appearance of a person who had just passed through an ordeal of some sort. So within 10 minutes itself, she returned from there and she looked very red as if she had gone through a difficult experience. Now, ordeal means a difficult experience. When she saw the young gentleman, she looked anything but pleased and passed him with a nod. And she saw the person who was watching there, the young gentleman with the black eye. He was watching Joe from the opposite building, right? So she just had a look at that person and passed him with a nod as if she was not interested to talk to that person at that moment. But he followed and thinking Joe had been to the dentist, asked with an air of sympathy, "Did you have a bad time?" Now, though Joe did not stop there and talk to that young gentleman who was standing across the street, still he followed and asked Joe with great sympathy whether she had a bad time with the dentist. So she replied, "Not very." "You got through quickly?" "Yes, thank goodness." "How many did you have out?" Joe looked at her friend Laurie as if she did not understand him, then began to laugh as if mightily amused at something. So the young gentleman was actually under the impression that Joe had been with the dentist and she had taken her tooth out. So out of curiosity, he just asked how many she had taken out. Hearing this, Joe looked at that person. Now in this paragraph it is mentioned who was that young gentleman. Who was it? He was Joe's friend Laurie. So Joe just looked at her friend Laurie as if she did not understand what he is talking about. And then she started to laugh as if hearing something funny. "There are two which I want to have out, but I must wait a week." So she replied, actually she has two to have out, but she has to wait for a week. "What are you laughing at? You are up to some mischief, Joe," said Laurie, looking confused. So Laurie was totally confused. He is not able to understand what Joe is talking about, and he felt that Joe is about to make some mischief. She is about to create some trouble. Laurie kept at her till Joe shared her secret with him. "Well, I've left 2 stories with the newspaper man and he's to give his answer next week," whispered Joe. So Laurie was very much confused and he just followed wherever Joe went, and he did not leave her until she shared her secret with him. And finally, Joe whispered to Laurie that she had left 2 stories with the newspaper man and he would give his response by next week. So this was the secret. "Hooray for Miss March!" yelled Laurie. So hearing this, Laurie became so happy and excited. He just yelled, "Hooray for Miss March!" He felt very proud of his friend and congratulated her.